Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready to dive into something interesting.
Absolutely. Always up for a good deep dive. What are we tackling today?
Well, we're going to dig into this whole idea of the global south rising. It's everywhere in the news, but my sources are saying there's more to it than just like the economic headlines.
Yeah, that tracks. I've been seeing the same thing. It's definitely a complex topic with a lot of layers.
Right. So to help us unpack it all, I thought we could think about it kind of like a musical project. Imagine indigenous artists from all these different nations coming together. What kind of sound would that create?
Ooh, I like where you're going with this. It's a cool way to think about the diversity and the potential, right?
Exactly. Each nation brings its own unique rhythm to the table. Speaking of which, your sources talk a lot about BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa.
Right, BRICS. They're definitely a major force, can't ignore that. But, and this is important, they're just one piece of a much bigger shift. We're talking about a multipolar world order emerging.
Okay, so beyond BRICS, break it down for me. Multipolar world, what does that even mean? And more importantly, why should we care?
Basically, it means we're moving away from a world dominated by just a handful of powerful nations. Think about it like a band with just one lead singer calling all the shots. Now imagine a whole bunch of talented musicians all jamming together, bringing their own unique sounds to the mix. That's kind of what's happening on the global stage right now. The Global South is stepping up, finding their voice, and demanding to be heard.
So instead of just one conductor leading the orchestra, it's more like a jam session with a bunch of talented musicians riffing off each other.
Exactly. And one of the most exciting aspects of this shift is the concept of South cooperation. You got my eye on your sources. Imagine nations coming together, not just to make music, but to find solutions to shared challenges.
Okay, now that's interesting. What are some collaborations that surprised you?
Well, one that really jumped out at me was Brazil. Sharing all their agricultural knowledge with African nations, they've really cracked the code on boosting crop yields, especially in tougher environments. And they're sharing that, which is huge for food security and economic growth in other parts of the global south.
That's a side of Brazil I honestly hadn't thought much about. Like sharing the secrets to sustainable farming. Pretty cool.
Right. And it's not just farming either. The sources you sent also mention the African Continental Free Trade Area, AfCFTA. It's like they created this massive free trade zone, breaking down barriers and boosting trade between African nations.
So instead of each country doing its own thing, they're teaming up, becoming this economic powerhouse.
Precisely. Think about it. Smoother trade routes, fewer tariffs, a more connected African market overall. That's a recipe for job creation, attracting investment, and potentially lifting a lot of people out of poverty. It's a big deal, not just for Africa, but for the whole global economy.
Huge. It's inspiring to see this level of collaboration and innovation. But it's not just about the economics, is it? From what I'm seeing, the Global South has a whole bunch of strengths we often overlook.
Absolutely. One major factor is the demographics. A lot of these nations have young populations, and they're growing fast, eager to work and make their mark.
So like a stage full of young musicians brimming with energy and fresh ideas, ready to rock.
Exactly. This youth bulge is a golden opportunity for economic growth and social change. This generation, they're digital natives, entrepreneurial, ready to take on the world. And it's not just about the numbers. It's the energy, the creativity, the new perspectives they bring.
That's exciting. But what about the challenges these countries face, like climate change? How do they deal with that?
That's another area where the Global South is really stepping up. You're right, they're often hit hardest by climate change, but that's also made them incredibly resourceful. They're not waiting for someone else to fix it. They're leading the charge on finding solutions.
So they're not just changing the tune, they're composing a whole new song for a more sustainable future.
Exactly. A lot of these countries are going all in on renewable energy, solar, wind power, the works. They're putting policies in place to protect their environments, and they're finding creative ways to adapt to the changing climate.
That's really impressive. Any specific examples that come to mind?
Costa Rica is a prime example. They've made themselves into a global leader in ecotourism and renewable energy. They've even set a goal to become totally carbon neutral, and they're well on their way.
Wow, that's amazing. They went from a small country known for its coffee to a global model for sustainability.
Exactly. And they're not alone. Many countries in the Global South are realizing that investing in sustainability isn't just good for the planet. It's good for their economies and their people. It's about creating a better world for everyone.
It's like they're adding a whole new layer of percussion to the global mix, bringing urgency and innovation to this fight against climate change.
I like that. And while we're talking about bringing something new to the table, we can't forget about the massive cultural influence coming out of the Global South. It's like this wave of fresh creativity, changing how we see and experience the world.
Right. It's more than just numbers and policies. Your sources were spot on about this cultural wave that's impossible to ignore. Think K-pop, Afrobeats, Bollywood. These genres are captivating audiences globally, changing the music scene completely.
Yeah.
What makes this cultural moment so important?
It's deeper than just catchy tunes, you know?
Yeah.
This is about shifting how we see the world, challenging the old ways of doing things. These art forms, they tell new stories, connect with people on a different level.
It's like they're bringing their own instruments to the Global Music Festival, and suddenly everyone wants to dance to this new beat.
Exactly. And this is where our little musical metaphor really comes alive, you know?
Yeah.
Your sources mention this idea of a project, like a hypothetical album, featuring only indigenous artists from the Global South.
I'm already putting in my pre-order. Okay, paint me a sonic picture. What kind of music are we talking about? Give me goosebumps.
Okay, close your eyes and imagine. The soulful melodies of Brazil's Tupi people, blending traditional instruments like, rattles and flutes, with these modern electronic sounds. It'd be ancient and futuristic all at once.
I can hear it. What's next on our global playlist?
Next, we journey north to the Siberian landscape. Imagine the haunting power of Eva throat singing, echoing across those vast open spaces.
Throat singing. Okay, for those of us who've never had the pleasure.
Right, so throat singing is this incredible technique where they use their vocal cords to create multiple notes simultaneously. It's wild. Almost sounds like an instrument.
Wow. Okay, now that's something I'd love to experience. I can practically see the music video, stunning scenery, ancient traditions, in this incredible vocal performance. What about India? Their musical tradition is so rich, it's almost hard to imagine where we'd even begin.
You're telling me India's musical landscape is insanely diverse. But for this project, let's say we focus on the Adivasi people. They're the indigenous communities of India.
Okay, I'm into it. What's their sound?
Think vibrant, rhythmic folk music, often using instruments like the dole drum and the punji, which is this wind instrument. It's very connected to nature, to their heritage. Powerful stuff.
This whole musical journey is mind-blowing, and it really highlights how diverse the Global South truly is. It's not one thing, it's a million different cultures and stories all woven together.
Exactly. And it doesn't stop there. We haven't even touched on the intricate melodies of the Karen people from Thailand, known for their beautiful textiles and their equally beautiful music. Or the vibrant rhythms of Igbo highlife music from Nigeria, blending traditional and modern styles. And we can't forget the ancient echoes of Nubian music from Egypt, a sound that speaks to their long history and resilience.
Okay, I need to hear this album like yesterday. This whole idea, it really drives home the point your sources made. We need to listen to these voices, engage with these cultures on their own terms, not just through the lens of headlines and economic reports.
Couldn't agree more. The Global South, it's more than just a political or economic force. It's this incredible tapestry of cultures, innovations, and perspectives that are shaping our world in profound ways.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I think the takeaway is clear. Stay curious, keep exploring, and open your ears to the incredible music of the Global South. Who knows, you might just discover your new favorite artist or musical tradition. Until next time.